I spoke to you the other day about this backdoor effort by ATF to outlaw ammunition that is used in AR-15s, mainly the .223 bullet or round. And this is very, very serious. Some of you may not care about guns and rifles. You may not care about the Second Amendment. But it's amazing how a pattern develops with a president like this when it comes to the Internet and so-called net neutrality, when it comes to immigration and violating the Constitution, when it comes to appointing people and violating the Constitution, when it comes to refusing to secure the border, when it comes to all these things. It matters. The rule of law matters. Separation of powers matters. A stable society, an American culture, matters. And I want to tell you what's going on in a little bit more detail. Our buddy Kevin Williamson, this guy is indispensable over at National Review Online. He's talking about a pincer movement on ammunition, the ATF on one side, the EPA on the other. And he points out in 1986, Congress revised the Gun Control Act, inserting prohibitions against the manufacture and import of armor-piercing ammunition. Now, armor-piercing ammunition does not mean ammunition designed to defeat body armor. That would be too simple. It means, most broadly, ammunition that could defeat the soft body armor of the sort that was cutting edge in the 1980s. But banning all such ammunition as armor-piercing would have meant a ban on practically all hunting rifles. One of the truly ignorant and insipid aspects of our gun control debate is that the gun grabbers spend so much time wringing their hands over so-called assault rifles, which are relatively low-powered but kind of scary-looking firearms, generally chambered by rounds, mainly the .223, that are too small even to legally use for deer hunting, while at the same time insisting that they do not wish to bother us about hunting rifles, which generally are much, much more powerful than the AR-15s that so dominate the progressive imagination. So armor-piercing came to mean ammunition made of certain materials, tungsten, alloy, steel, etc., that could defeat certain kinds of body armor, and they could be fired from a handgun, and only a handgun. Handgun. Did I say handgun? But again, similar problems crop up. Almost all rifle cartridges could be fired from a handgun because there are handguns chambered for all manner of cartridges. Now, the classic American rifle cartridge, the .30-06, can be fired from certain handguns, as can classic big game rounds such as the .45 and the .70, these 70 rounds, which is popular among moose and grizzly hunters, as well as non-hunting hikers and campers who wish to be prepared for a moose or grizzly encounter. So that leads us to another refinement, an exemption for single-shot handguns. The term single-shot handgun means a break-open or bolt-action handgun that can accept only a single cartridge manually and does not accept or use a magazine or other ammunition feeding device. So the term does not include a pocket pistol or Derringer-type firearm. Now, it's almost as though the ATF is reasoning towards some specific predetermined goal, isn't it? Now, sporting exemptions have been handed out fairly commonly for ammunition that might otherwise be classified as armor-piercing, and requests for those exemptions have become much more common as environmentally minded sportsmen and the firms that supply them look for alternatives to lead-based bullets, which can poison, certain feeding animals such as the California condor. California prohibits the use of lead-based bullets for hunting in the condor's range, and other states have some restrictions too. These non-lead bullets, made of steel or alloys, are not designed to pierce body armor. They're designed to keep lead out of the environment and out of the alimentary canals of wild animals. But their composition means they can be classified as armor-piercing rounds if the feds can find an excuse to do it. So what's the upshot of all this? Well, the maneuvering that the ATF intends to do to revoke the sporting exemption for certain popular kinds of .223 ammunition, allowing it to be reclassified as armor-piercing and therefore banned, even though it is not designed as armor-piercing ammunition and has no special armor-piercing characteristics. The reason for this is that the feared and hated AR-style rifle has been enjoying a new career as a handgun. This is yet another consumer response to federal regulation. Some people prefer short-barreled rifles, particularly for home defense situations, when they will most likely be used indoors. But federal law makes short-barreled rifles a special category of weapon that requires additional permits and, of course, taxes. And some jurisdictions ban them outright. By the way, for those of you who say, well, we don't have enough regulations and control, I'll bet some of you are having trouble even following this. There's all kinds of rules. But if you remove the shoulder stock from an AR-style rifle, it's not a rifle. It's a handgun, albeit one of the clumsiest and goofiest handguns on the market. But the fact that there is a multi-shot handgun commercially available for those non-lead .223 rounds means that such ammunition can be banned as armor-piercing, even though it is not armor-piercing ammunition by use or design. So everybody goes back to the lead bullet. Wrong. Now steps in the EPA. Leftist environmental groups have been pressuring the EPA to begin regulating or ban outright lead ammunition under the Toxic Substance Control Act. They lost their most recent round when the D.C. Court of Appeals ruled the EPA lacks statutory authority to regulate lead ammunition. But when has statutory authority stopped the Obama administration? The FCC has no authority to enact net neutrality rules. That's why it's reached back to the 1930s New Deal era law for justification. So you can be sure that the campaign to use the EPA and other federal agencies to ban lead ammunition is far from over. The U.S. Humane Society already is petitioning the Interior Department to ban lead ammunition on public lands. That's why I say, by the way, donate to local shelters, these centralized Washington-based groups like the Humane Society. No, I would never give them money. Give it to your local organization. Now, here's the gist of it. What gun rights advocates fear, not without reason, is that this is the beginning of a pincer movement, with the ATF banning non-lead ammunition as a threat to armor-wearing police officers, and then the EPA banning lead ammunition as a toxin. Never mind, there's no epidemic of police officers being gunned down, despite their body armor, by hoodlums carrying AR-style pistols. The use of such weapons in crimes is so vanishingly rare that no police agency even bothers to track them as a category. There's no reason to assume that this will stop with the .223 ammo, popular for that scary-looking AR-style rifle. There are multiple shot handguns, mostly revolvers, chambers for many kinds of rifle cartridges, meaning that the armor-piercing designation could be applied to all sorts of ammunition for hunting rifles. So in a sense, the gun grabbers were telling the truth when they said they had no designs on our sporting rifles, but the ammunition for those rifles is another story. All right, let me cut to the chase here. So on the one hand, hunters and others trying to be, quote-unquote, environmentally responsible, that was their first mistake, moved toward this non-lead round. And there's a lot of complaints about these non-lead rounds, by the way, but I'm not going to get into that. Then, okay, fine, you're going to ban these bullets. Then we'll go back to the lead bullets. Then the EPA is being pressured to outlaw the lead bullets under a almost 90-year-old law that had obviously no intention of affecting bullets of any kind. And so if they ban non-lead bullets and they ban lead bullets for the AR-15, which is one of the most popular weapons today, Williamson's point is correct. What's to stop them from doing it with another weapon, and another weapon, and another weapon, and another weapon? This is the tyranny I speak about all the time. This is why I say that the state legislatures need to get their act together under Article 5 and do something about what's going on in this country. The courts can't do it. In many respects, the courts are responsible for it. The president can't do it. In most respects, the president is responsible for it and his massive bureaucracy of lawmakers. That's what the bureaucracy is. It's lawmakers. In Congress has surrendered virtually every bit of its power to both other branches, the executive branch and the courts. And it frustrates me to no end when I hear Republicans like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio, and they're not alone, John McCain and Lindsey Graham and a long list of others, who at the one hand say this needs to be stopped and then on the other hand capitulate. capitulate. There can be no more capitulation. There'll be nothing left.